Hi everyone, the Lone Wolf here. Welcome back to some EVE Online, and I must say, a bit of a surprise. I was planning to only make a video about planetary interaction, and the reason for that is, of course, I've been doing all those preparations for the Citadel when that comes out. But a new dev blog just hit. It's actually a pretty, I think, controversial one. It's going to be an interesting one to see what the reaction from the player base is going to be to that, but I can't leave that alone, of course. Let's start straight away with what you're here for. Devblog, skill trading in New Eden. It's basically a go for the skill trading idea that was first introduced to the community in a dev blog a few months ago. There was a pretty heated debate. CCP took a look at all of it, and they actually just basically decided to go with what they had announced. So this dev blog right here, of course, you can find it. I'll put the link down below as well. First of all, they said that, well, they thought it was a really good discussion, and I must agree, except for maybe the voice that were just shouting pay to win without any possibility for compromise on their part. I think overall people were definitely having a good conversation, discussing the benefits and the potential risks of a system like that. So over here they basically just explain again the system where you will be able to buy a skill extractor from the Aurum store, and then you'll be able to put 500,000 skill points from your character into that extractor. It then becomes a skill injector, and depending on how many skill points the character has that uses this skill injector, you'll be able to get, for a character with less than 5 million skill points, you get the full 500,000 skill points. For someone that has 50 million skill points or more than 5 million, it's 400,000. For someone that's between 50 and 80, it's 300,000. And for someone that has more than 80 million skill points, it becomes 150,000 skill points. So a little bit less than a third of the actual amount. What is interesting here, in my opinion, is that they reduced the penalty a little bit. So it used to be only, I think, 50,000 skill points, and this one here for someone of around 80 million skill points, it was only 200,000. So they reduced the penalty for people that have high SP characters already to use this to try and basically bring their characters or their SP more in line with how they want to use it. I think it's interesting. And the discussion here in the comments is already pretty heated, I must say. There are people that are for this, there are people that are against this. So let's start maybe with the biggest problem with the dev blog. They don't announce the price of the actual item itself that is to be bought from the Aurum store. On the other hand, one thing that I do think is pretty interesting is that they confirm that you will be able to sell the extractor as well. So the skill extractor comes from the New Eden store, but can be traded on the market as well. So this is not something that becomes like soulbound. So again, I do think that both the extractor and the skill injector do follow the rules of the sandbox. I see nothing that is objectively wrong with this system. It does not become a pay-to-win system, in my opinion, because the rules of the sandbox are followed both for the skill extractor item. Sure, you have to pay Aurum in order to get it, but it is freely traded on the market, so you can easily get that as well just by spending ISK on that. And for the skill injector as well, the 500,000 skill points that you will put up for trade have to be trained beforehand, so nothing is actually created out of thin air that is being traded by the players, except of course the means to actually extract the skill points and make those tradable. But of course CCP has to come up with a system, and it's something where they'll want to make some money out of that. The vibe that I basically get from this dev blog is that they're definitely no longer touting this as something that is going to fix the problems of new players in order to catch up. They say it's a way to do it without basically having to buy a new character or an available character on the character bazaar. So, new players might be able to use this to take advantage of it. But the fact that they have reduced the penalty here for high SP characters, in my opinion, means that CCP is actually okay with the idea of players having the ability to optimize the SP that they've already trained. And for high SP characters, it comes at a penalty. But as I've said, they've even reduced that penalty compared to their first ideas. And so basically, when I made the video about is this a good or a bad idea, what it all boils down to is, are you for giving players the ability to take back all of the SP that they've trained and then redistribute that into what they consider to be the most optimal way to do it? Or do you think that the SP training should be something completely static, and that as a result of that has consequences for the choices that you've made? And it is pretty obvious here that CCP says we are perfectly fine with people being able to basically go back on previous mistakes with the skill training. Honestly, if it's something that you've trained years ago, this is actually pretty understandable. There is a penalty as well for high SP characters, and so that's basically the philosophy that CCP gives out here. Yes, you have trained for that, you've paid for that SP, and so there should be, we are perfectly okay, I should say, with allowing people to optimize the SP that they have trained, and even the playtime that they've put into EVE. If you've got a lot of ISK, if you've got billions and trillions of ISK, and you actually want to buy even more SP than you already have, then it's fine, you're allowed to do so. And that is basically the story here. They're going to try and implement this for the February release, so this is pretty soon already. But there's really not much to say about this, except of course one thing, the price that we can expect for one of those skill injectors, so the item plus the 500,000 SP, is probably going to be on the open market, is probably going to be very equivalent to just straight up plexing an account for that same amount of time. So this is not something I think that is going to be an easy way for new players to just get ahead in the game. If they want to get ahead in the game as much as someone that has already invested all of that time in the game, they'll have to actually probably buy Plex for a certain amount. Let's say that they want to buy their way into a character that has all the skills that would normally take 2 months. You're probably looking at 2 Plex in price for that, which it's in a way it's balanced. It's going to be very expensive, but it's also balanced. And of course, a lot depends on the price of the extractor item itself. That is going to be something that's added on top. And then, my first idea here is this is not going to help newer players. But there is actually a big but, and that is that all of this does follow the rules of the sandbox. This is freely tradable, and as a result, an alliance, for instance, with deep wallets can make it a bit of like a social program within its own alliance for its members. They can, for instance, make 2 or 3 of these skill injectors available for free for any new member that joins them. Of course, there will be risks, and that's all. There will be people that may try to scam them out of those things. That's up to them to decide. But of course, on the free market, these will be pretty expensive. And the first idea is, of course, if everyone wants to make a profit on these extractors, it's just going to cost even more than Plex, and thus for new players it's not going to be affordable. But of course, EVE is a sandbox, and so the players themselves, the alliances, high SP players, powerful players with big wallets, have the option of making this more of a social benefit for new players that they want to make available to new players who they want to have stay in the game or become more effective in their fleets from day one. They have the option to do so. It doesn't necessarily have to be the new player that has to pay the full price of these skill injectors. And as such, I can see this sort of work out as a part of the sandbox. As I've said, I don't see any real problems with this. The one thing, of course, the counter argument to well, new players, old players could actually basically give up a little part of their own wealth to help forward new players. The opposite, of course, is that this will give older players all the tools they need to completely optimize all of their alts for exactly the purpose that they want to. And of course, the earning potential of a big part of the veteran players is much higher than 3 times that of a completely new player. 500,000 skill points to 150k. Let's say it's around 1/3 punishment. A veteran can easily make more than 3 times the ISK than a new player can. And so from that perspective, from a new player that is not in the right group that will actually help him forward with this system, it's actually going to set them back even more and force them to basically invest real money in order to purchase this SP. It's going to be a pretty interesting experiment in my opinion, and I'll definitely keep a close eye on that. But this is pretty much in line with my own expectation. I really did get the vibe that CCP wanted to go ahead with this, and that basically, as I've said, this means that CCP is okay with people re-optimizing the SP that they've already paid for and trained. That is basically what this dev blog tells us. It's going to be pretty interesting to see what this is going to do to the Plex market, I think. So we'll have to wait and see. We're actually not seeing eye to eye on this, myself and Yves Prosper. Yves Prosper thinks that there could be a negative pressure on Plex because of the skill trading. I think it's actually going to increase the price of Plex because it's just going to increase the demand for Aurum. The premium that CCP wants on this item, the real life money amount that they want, is just going to increase the demand for this for Plex, and thus is going to increase the price for Plex, in my opinion. But yeah, there we go. Skill trading in New Eden, it is a go. We'll get that system, and then of course only the future will tell what this will actually do to New Eden. As I've said, I tend to be just neutral on the whole thing. I think it is within the rules of the sandbox. I think it has both its advantages and its disadvantages, and we'll have to see once this gets on TQ itself. And that's it for the skill trading. That's really all I have to say about that. But then just a quick note here, something else that I wanted to cover. So let's go for the manufacturing and research, and then we've got materials, PI, where was I? Planetary interaction and the planetary materials. So you may know that all of these advanced planetary materials are going to be used in the citadels, and as a result, look at that. It's something that I noticed because I still need basically some wetware mainframes and some integrity response drones, but they've become really expensive, and even Amar, the second biggest trade up, is completely empty of them. So here is the chart. You can see that we start at basically 1.5 million and we're now heading to 2.5 million, almost a doubling in price. Sterile conduits here does a little bit of a double dip. Of a double spike here, starts at 0.9 and shoots up to 1.5, so again almost a doubling. Self-harmonizing power core, very similar, 1.5 to 2.2, something like that. Here, recursive computing model, I think those that had big supplies available already are doing this double move here, but again let's see, 1.1, 1.2 million to 1.7 million, so a decent increase. And here we've got the organic mortar applicators from 0.7 to 1.1. Then we get the nanofactory, of course, really taking off as well, practically doubling in price. Integrity response drone, 1.4 to 2.7, almost doubling in price. I mean, they are still available, but at almost 3 million ISK, they are pretty damn expensive. And then we've got the broadcast nodes, again, really jumping up from 1.4 to almost 2 million ISK. And my thought was, these new PI prices, are they here to stay? And honestly, I think there's actually a little bit of speculation that is happening, and that we will have to give back some of that ground. If I have to show you guys An example of this here is the speculation bubble in Zydrine, for instance, with the mineral changes. So people shot it up to 1600 and now it had to give back almost half its price. Same with Megasite here, really big shoot up, and this one had to give back more than half of the price here. So this is basically a whole bubble. Why do I think that we're in a pretty similar situation for the PI materials? I actually think that the demand for especially medium citadels, which is I think going to be the most common one that will be used, is going to replace a lot of the demand that comes from the current bosses. And of course, if we take a look at the Starbase structures control towers themselves, here we go. In the materials, you also need all of these advanced materials in creating the control towers themselves, and as a result I actually think that the doubling in price here is a little bit of an over speculation that is happening when it comes to these planetary materials for the citadels, because there's already really high demand to produce control towers, and I think that this is going to fall back. Obviously not one-on-one, and the construction of the medium and the large citadels will probably have an impact that is going to increase demand. But at the moment I'm seeing this as a big speculative move up that is a little bit too optimistic. And although I'm still buying even at these prices, because I want to be ready for citadels when they actually hit. I want to be able to get into trying to create one myself as soon as I can. I also know that I'm basically paying a premium because I want to be ready for citadels. I want to be amongst the first, and I actually think that I'm overpaying these a little bit at the moment. So I know that a lot of you guys will probably stop at the skill trading discussion, but if you have any thoughts on what's happening in the PI market when it comes to the citadels, I would love to have your comments on that as well, because I actually think that it is pretty interesting. There is actually two predictions that you can get from this video. Number one, I think Plex are going to go up in price due to the skill trading idea that CCP plans to implement in February. We'll see if I'm right or if I'm wrong. And number two, I think that these advanced planetary materials are in a bit of a bubble at the moment, that a lot of this increase in price is from speculation. And so just like with the minerals, I do think we'll see a pullback in the upcoming months. It could be that it's only after Citadel actually launches that we will see this pullback in planetary materials, but I think it's going to happen, and that's what I basically wanted to share with you guys. I don't tend to risk myself to speculate on what's going to happen, but here I just wanted to share with you guys my opinions on that, and as a result we'll have a chance to actually see if I'm right or wrong as all of this will continue to develop. For now, thank you very much for watching, guys, and I'll see you all next time.